Well, Sydney, are you ready to talk to Josh in Indiana?
Let's do it.
All right. Josh, what do you have for us today?
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm wildly surprised that I was next.
Yes.
Cool.
Oh, yes.
I'm interested
Sydney,
in what you have on your mind.
Well, thank you. Sydney, I spoke with you and Dr. Ben. It was a while back.
A while. Yeah, it's been like a year or so.
Wow, you remember me. I'm so surprised.
I do. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a while. There were a couple of things that I feel like I didn't explicate to you guys clearly enough.
Okay.
First of all, I don't necessarily believe in the explanations that are given in terms of a Native American spirituality. Not necessarily.
That feels like a very big claim with not a lot of context or information for me. Josh, can you tell me where we're going with this conversation?
Yeah, sure. Basically, I've spent about 20 years, give or take, moving in and out of the Native American ritual space. So I've seen a lot of very unusual things. The one I talked about last time was the one that was very weird, and it affected me in very strange ways. I'm not really particularly interested in talking about that one today. Because it was a one time, right? Like it happened a singular time. But there are things that I've seen 20, well, no, that's too many. No, it isn't. That's probably 15 or 20 times. And that is, these they call them spirit lights. Nobody's ever told me what they think they are, but they appear in most of the 7 sacred ceremonies at some point. Not every time, but sometimes. So like in sweat lodges, for instance, quite dark. And I would say, I'm trying to do the math in my head, probably did about 50 or 60 sweats a year, give or take. And you would see them in maybe 1 or 2 per year. And that is...
So sorry, I feel like maybe I'm missing some context. What is it that we're seeing, or what is it that you're saying we're seeing?
Oh, sure. They're these little green lights.
Okay, so you're saying there's green lights that you see during spiritual ceremonies that are performed by specific Native American tribes.
Correct.
In the context of incredible dehydration and physical distress, I might add, yeah?
Right.
Well, in a sweat lodge, yes. But if you're talking about like Yaweepi or Lawampe, that's indoors and it's just dark.
Okay.
Like totally dark. So you get these things. They don't seem to respond to stimulus, like they're present, but you can't touch them. Like I've tried to grab them multiple times, failed every time. And it's very unusual.
What do you understand them to be, or imagine or believe that they are?
I don't know. I really don't, man.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm not a neurobiologist, but I feel like I can propose some theories. But I also have to imagine that you are participating in these ceremonies, establishing yourself in that context, and then calling the show to tell us about it because you have some guesses.
I also do have a question. Is anybody imbibing during these ceremonies? Because I do know that during a lot of ceremonies, very similar to what you're describing, there are things like ayahuasca involved, different forms of natural things being smoked. So I'm just curious, in this instance, had anybody been smoking or drinking anything?
Lakota ritual is very, very sober.
Okay.
Pretty much exclusively, to the point where, well, at least in the communities that I was in, like I can't speak across the board, but in the communities that I was in, they really didn't even want you to go and do ayahuasca ceremonies or peyote road stuff.
Okay.
Because at least in the way that I was taught during that time frame, you get your visions, you get your experiences by doing the rituals, not a substance, essentially.
And so through these experiences and witnessing these mysterious lights that you're describing, are you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but are you saying that this is an example of a belief system or a spirituality, a system of spirituality that is more believable than the Bible? Or are you saying experiences like that are why you think there's a chance there might be truth to the Bible? Like what are your thoughts in terms of belief and what you believe?
I'm more interested in information gathering methodologies from a social science perspective.
Okay.
That don't. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh goodness. Asking questions that don't infer answers to gather good data. Right? Because
Okay.
you can ask somebody like, hey, did you see those green lights? And there's a good, or at least I won't even say good. There is some chance that they're going to be like, oh, yeah, man, I saw those. That was so weird. When they didn't, right? Like that is a thing that exists. People do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, especially in a group context, if you're all standing around talking about it, it's really easy for, I don't even want to say bad faith actors, but that's kind of what they would be, to not give you truthful results, right? Like, I'm more interested, like myself, in just getting an idea for how these things happen. Like, is there a naturalistic explanation that can cover these things appearing indoors, outdoors, winter, spring, summer, fall, in the mountains, in the forest, in the desert?
Yes.
Like,
yeah, I absolutely believe that there are. Sydney, did you want to jump in? I saw you. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No. My thought is, though, what's the common denominator there? Human beings,
Right.
human eyes, human brains. So while I can see that there are questions like that, like why is this happening no matter the climate, no matter the time of day, no matter the group of people, the thing that we have in common in all of these instances is that human beings are experiencing these things. So maybe it's less about the environment and more about something internal that's happening with human beings that can be explained physiologically if someone were to look into it.
So what if I hear you and I agree with you? The part that gets to me is that they are multiply attestable in a group of 8 to 10 people. If you're smart about the way you ask questions, like the way I try and do it is like, what was that like for you? You know, what was your experience? Tell me about it. First round, second round, third round, fourth round. You know, having been around it long enough, I know how to walk my way around getting the information I'm looking for without implanting ideas in people's heads. Like, I'm okay at it. And I mean, like, I've poured 4 sweats myself. That was just because people asked me to. One of those 4, the lights showed up, which, man, I don't know. It's weird. It bugged me out.
Let me give you, it's going to sound like a weird example, but stick with me. It's going to sound weird, but I promise there's a point. So capsaicin the stuff that makes jalapenos spicy, right? No matter where we live, say you and Christy and I are all on Zoom together. We're at different parts of the planet. It's different times of day, depending on where we're located. It's different climates, depending on where we're zooming in from. We all take a jalapeno and we all bite into the jalapeno. All three of us are going to experience a burning sensation. We're all going to go, oh, wow, that's spicy, that's hot. Now, we might disagree on how spicy or hot it is, right? Like if one of us has been eating jalapenos every day, we may not be surprised that it's spicy. But we're all going to have the exact same, wow, that's really spicy reaction. However, I have parrots, and parrots do not react to capsaicin. Capsaicin does not impact them at all. They don't know what spicy is. They've never heard of it. They can bust open a jalapeno, munch, 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 eat just fine, not have any spicy experience whatsoever. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because even still, in the other examples you're giving, where you're like, but I've seen it, I've felt it, in every example in which you are polling your audience is human. In every location you've been where you're polling your audience is human. So while the environment may not change the outcome, and while the location may not change or the time of day may not change the outcome, at the end of the day, the only way that you're gathering evidence is by using humans and by asking humans their perspective. And maybe the common denominator there is something that's physiologically being experienced and felt by human beings because of the way that we are, because of the way that our bodies operate. And I would be curious to see if there's a way to tell if maybe other species experience those same lights. Are humans the only ones that do? Is there something with the human eyeball that creates that anomaly that doesn't happen to, say, goats or dogs or cats? So that would be my only argument there, is at the end of the day, no matter what language you speak or where you're located or what the weather's like or what time of day, the only species that you are able to get data from by speaking to them about their experience is a human, right?
Well, if I can add on to that metaphor, Sydney, we know that humans as a species, like not only are we sensitive to spicy foods, but we know that humans as a species reliably, when deprived of access to light, have light-based hallucinations.
Yes.
That's something that we can replicate in a laboratory and something that we just know to be true about human beings.
And group hallucinations that they genuinely believe they're seeing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Phosphine activity is what that's called, I think, right?
I don't know. Good
Not
question.
familiar with that term myself.
Yeah.
That's from Philip K. Dick from one of his novels. He described something vaguely similar.
Sure. Okay.
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, guys. I hurt my back, and now it's saying, why did you do that? What? So
yeah, well, sorry to hear it. I guess, is that the most reasonable naturalistic explanation? Is there a spiritual or any other explanation that you think makes more sense, and why?
Well, I mean, that goes back to, like, even if I could verify, right? Like, even if I could say definitively, this is a thing that happened, there were lights, right? Like, we had a camera in there, something. That wouldn't prove anything. All it would prove is that there was a flash of light. In terms of, if you were to look at it culturally, you get a couple of different answers. Sometimes it is spirits that, walk with that particular medicine person manifesting themselves in the lodge for a purpose, ?
And you're sure of that? Or that's what they believe?
Oh, that's one of the cultural contexts, or not context, but answers that if you were to ask
what are your
person,
conclusions?
like, hey, what was that? My conclusions are...
What are your conclusions or assumptions? Okay. Yeah.
I really don't, bud. Like, I would love to say, like, oh, yeah, those are X, Y, Z. But for me to be able to say that, I need an awful lot more proof than just lights appearing in a dark place, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Yeah. I mean, and again, we're talking in very abstract terms. So I am not going to be able to sit here and say that, you know, this person at that sweat lodge at that time had this specific experience. But I am able to comfortably say that human beings do tend to hallucinate light when they are deprived of access to light. And that's just a thing that we know and is very likely an explanation for what we're discussing here. So again, what are we discussing here and why? Like, is there a sense of something supernatural at work, or what are your curiosities around this subject?
Man, my curiosities ultimately are, is it mass hallucination? I haven't been able to find any good, like, academic, and you know what I mean when I say that, like a peer-reviewed paper on mass hallucination. I haven't been able to find a good one, but I'm not an academic, so that's probably on me. At first, I thought they were maybe fireflies, but that doesn't hold up to any kind of rigorous look. It doesn't. But when we're, I'll just give you, for instance, from back when I was kind of still just starting. It was one of my first experiences seeing them. And we had gotten into a sweat, and the guy who was next to me, he was a native guy doing this his whole life. And I noticed that he was wearing a ring. And I saw, those little green lights floating between the two of us. And I thought, like, oh, that's just his ring catching some light off of the red hot stones. Like, that's what that is, obviously. And when we got out, he was like, dude, did you see the spirit light that was moving back and forth between us? And I was like, dude, I thought that was your ring. And, like, there were no stones in the ring. Like, I just don't know. Like, I've been.
Yeah, I mean, it maybe wasn't this, it maybe wasn't that. It sounds very likely that it was hallucinatory, but again, I'm trying to get at why this is important, or why finding some sort of knowing seems so significant. Whether it was a reflection off of a gemstone from some small amount of light in the room, whether it was a bug, whether it was whatever, why does it feel like it's important to know?
Well, I can speak for myself. So, I've, outside of the Native American context, I did that 20-ish years. I was out on the reservation a couple times. Like, I met a lot of, the big named people in that grouping of people who do things. I have also been to Buddhist ceremony, Western lodge type, so your OTO, that kind of thing, Golden Dawn.
I'm happy to let you continue, but is this in service of answering the question why you care about what these lights are or what their origins are?
Yes.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of different things. There has only been this context, just the Native American ceremonial side of things, that produced repeatable results. Now, they're not controllably repeatable, but they do happen enough that it's become a pattern for me and my wife too.
Okay.
But you are again, it goes back to the whole, you're both human beings. So it's not surprising
having
to
a
me.
human experience that we know happens to humans. We know that humans hallucinate light. So why
Exactly.
this is not at all meant to be a rude question, Josh, but like, why are we still, what is it that we're still not answering?
Nothing, I guess. I'm trying to figure out how to compile better data. Is it only possible moving outside of human sensory experience, or where do I go from there?
I've got an idea. And maybe you've tried this, but my thought would be have everyone bring a dog and see if the dog reacts to the light, or a cat, because a cat, if they spot it, they'll follow it with their eyes, they'll try to bat at it, things like that, or they'll be frightened. Maybe you guys should bring animals to the next one and just see if when these things show up, the animals respond too. Maybe it's something that their eyes can pick up as well, and if that's the case, what does that mean to you, and kind of explore that even further. Maybe their anatomy is similar in that they'll experience some of the same visuals you will, but you'll at least know for sure that it's not just a group idea or some kind of group hallucination if animals are responding to it who have no reason to be dishonest about their experience.
Sure. I mean, they can still respond to the same like hallucinations that they experience in light deprivation. Right. I think I would encourage, if you are trying to bring some amount of like rigor to this experiment, or however we're trying to frame it, that you ask yourself what would be an acceptable answer. And not to belabor the point, but I would like to point out that doing some research onto how the human eyeball works and how the human brain works and how human brains are known to hallucinate when deprived of light sounds very much like an acceptable answer. Absolutely. That I would want you to grapple with.
Absolutely.
Sure. But when we're talking about 8 or 9 people
who all have human eyes that have all been experiencing the exact same thing, where we know that in the absence of light, the human eyeball will hallucinate light.
Right. That's the thing, is the humans are always the base of this experiment. And as long as human beings are always the base of this experiment, all we're proving is that human beings' eyes respond the same way to whatever it is that they're experiencing in that moment.
Which has already been established in a laboratory. Mm-hmm. And I imagine that there are similar experiments on other mammals, including cats and dogs. I can't speak to that. I don't have that research in front of me, but I know absolutely that human beings do have this experience. Mm.
So going back to shared hallucination, because that is something that interests me very much, because I think that is the most likely, probably. But I can't find any data on that, like research on that, and I would like to learn more about it. Do you guys have? Could you direct me somewhere? Or do you
nothing specific that I would point you towards, but I have to say it is kind of irrelevant in this moment. Like, even if none of you discuss your experience, even if nobody says to one another, "This is what I saw," if we all know that you are all going through the exact same stimuli or the lack of stimulation, that you're all going to have a similar experience. It doesn't have to be, quote, shared in that sense. Whether you go in there individually or as a collective group, you're going to have the same results. There's nothing to suggest you're seeing the same magical orb, only that you are seeing magical orbs because that's how human eyes work.
So if you can track it down to a specific point in time and get 3 people who say, at this point, I saw X, Y, Z, and it's
maybe if one person had been in the lodge for 10 minutes and another person had been in the lodge for 45 minutes and another person had been there in an hour and none of them saw anything, and then magically at the exact same moment they all saw something, like I suppose you could devise a experiment with some amount of controls to try and isolate this phenomena. but there do seem to be some very accurate, reasonable, simple explanations already well on hand. And I'm not trying to shove them down your throat, Josh, but your lack of interest in accepting them is maybe the part of the scientific rigor that I would encourage you to grapple with.
Yeah, that was my thought as well. Is the answer is there. We have the answer, and it is probably very biological. It's why we don't want that to be the answer, or why we doubt that that's the only answer that is curious to me.
Hold on a second, guys. Sorry. I am sitting down. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I think that's really it, guys. Do you have...
Yeah, well, I hope that you grapple with it. I very much appreciate your curiosity and interest here.
Thanks for calling.
Any ideas on where I could look up actual data on group hallucination? Because that's just also, it kind of just interests me.
I'm not a professional in that field, so I wouldn't want to point you somewhere and endorse something that I don't know.
Even that term group hallucination needs to be operationalized in your research a lot more before you're going to find anything particularly useful. I mean, I myself would want to point you towards research and information about hypnosis, which is more closely related to my field and my area of interest, and doesn't necessarily answer your question, even if I think it maybe kind of would. So, yeah, I don't have anywhere in particular that I would point you to other than wanting to point out that you're going to need to operationalize your terms a bit more.
What does that mean, operationalize? I'm not familiar.
When you say group hypnosis, you could be referring to a million different types of phenomena. And that notion is so broad that it doesn't really describe your experimental field.
Gotcha.
But you know what? Google Scholar as a place to start, just with some humility around what you were reading and your capacity for interpreting that data without a larger knowledge base to incorporate it into and scaffold it onto.
I would say thesaurus.com.
Layman does make it a little more difficult.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys,
fair to say, but we're
to another caller.
Curious about your findings. And yeah, have a good one. Thanks for giving us a call.
Well, you too. Always nice to talk to you.
Okay, well, yeah, you did great to talk to you as well.